Is Aliens vs. Predator 2 the unsung hero of the early owners' shooter renaissance, or a B-movie sideshow that happens to be interactive? Spoiler, it moonwalks somewhere between the two while licking acid off its own mandibles. Released in late 2001, Monolith's sequel still feels like the gaming equivalent of juggling chainsaws on roller skates, dangerously show-offy, yet somehow never shredding its fundamentals. Some retro diehards insist it's an underappreciated milestone. 3 interwoven campaigns. No other FPS dared chew that much scenery back then, while others call it janky licenseware with better marketing than Polygon counts. Which hot take is right? I've been seesawing harder than a malfunctioning power loader ever since my first LAN session. Pizza grease, CRT static, and the low hum of an overclocked Athlon XP. Pure 2001 ASMR. Strap in, stow your ribs somewhere safe, and join me for 2,500 plus words of nostalgia, night picking, and enough rhetorical self-roasts to make Hudson shout, "Game over, man." Again, historical context. By autumn 2001, the Dreamcast swan song had faded. Microsoft was prepping to slip the original Xbox into living rooms like a Trojan warthog, and Sierra, yes, the King's Quest people, still had a logo bigger than its budget. Meanwhile, Fox Interactive was convinced the Alien and Predator licenses could print money faster than Weyland-Yutani prints denial forms. Their first attempt, Rebellion's 1999 Aliens vs. Predator, had carved a cult following in its proprietary Asura engine. Think Quake-era lighting married to a horror movie mood board. Monolith Productions, fresh off the impeccably hip spy spoof No One Lives Forever, was tapped for the sequel. Instead of inheriting Rebellion's toolbox, Monolith rolled out Lithtech Talon, an in-house fork of Lithtech 2.22. It wasn't the flashiest renderer on store shelves. ID Tech 3 and Unreal Engine 2 hogged that spotlight, but Talon had 2 undeniable advantages. It was robust enough to handle 3 radically different player character types, and it let Monolith ship on time, which, in 2001, was sorcery. If you were haunting message boards back then, shout out to Planet AVP, you'll recall the hype cycle. Monolith promised 3 distinct stories that crossed paths like a nerd's corkboard conspiracy map. Marine, Alien, Predator, each set on a backwater research colony orbiting LV-1201. The marketing pitch read like Ridley Scott, James Cameron, and John McTiernan were locked in a writing room with bottomless coffee and a single mandate: share your toys, kiddos. It sounded bombastic in an era when shooters still thought multiple playable characters meant reskinning the same gun guy in a different vest. Personally, I first read about AVP2 in a ragged copy of PC Gamer while loitering in a dingy arcade whose Time Crisis guns were duct taped together. The previewer claimed you could play a face hugger, crawl into a scientist's helmet, popate into a chest burster, and burst forth in a geyser of rib meat, all before the poor Marine player realized his buddy was now controlling the thing that killed him. My 13-year-old inner gorehound practically signed away my allowance right there at the coin-op counter. Monolith didn't just chase cinematic fidelity, they went full Hollywood method actor. Audio logs crackle with late 70s synth drones. Colonial Marines bark Cameron-isms like "stay frosty" with enough gusto to make Bill Paxton sweat in his grave. And every corridor is lined with yellow industrial grating that screams OSHA nightmare. Yet the cleverest design flex wasn't the fidelity, it was how Monolith interlaced the campaigns. Events you triggered in one storyline would echo, sometimes literally, in another. A dropship exploding outside the research tower for Harrison's Marine Squad. Hours later, you'd skulk past its smoking wreck as a predator, analyzing human panic like a cosmic David Attenborough. That sense of perspective shift was practically unheard of in 2001's Shooter Zoo. Halo was a month old, Medal of Honor. Allied Assault still warming up its Omaha Beach set piece. And here came Monolith letting you re-experience your own carnage from a different pair of claws. And then there's the elephant in the room: multiplayer. Half-Life mods and Counter-Strike were busy teaching high schoolers the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS. AVP2 strolled in with an asymmetrical buffet that allowed Marines, Aliens, and Predators to slap each other silly on the same map. Balance? Pfft. The notion felt as alien as, well, an alien. But we'll get to that delicious chaos soon. Mechanics, 1 game, 3 genres, 1 rapidly fraying sanity meter. That's AVP2 in a chestnut shell. Don't mind the acid. Each campaign opens with a dedicated prologue tutorial, like individual season premieres that eventually converge into a triple episode crossover. Marine, you're Corporal Andrew Frosty Harrison, proud owner of a pulse rifle, a flamethrower, and about as much job security as a redshirt on the Enterprise. The star of the loadout isn't the smart gun, though its auto-track roar is still sonic caffeine, but the handheld motion tracker. Raise it with secondary fire, and a chunky green CRT swoops onto the lower left quadrant of your HUD, roughly a quarter of the screen, enough obstruction to fray nerves but not hide your demise entirely. Every ping might be a harmless air duct rat or a ceiling-crawling lurker. The tension is Pavlovian. I've conditioned myself to panic at microwave ovens because they beep in the same cadence. Predator, if the Marine campaign is survival horror with bullets, the Predator route is power fantasy spiked with corporate demolition. You juggle energy weapons that overheat unless topped off with a handy field charge orb. Remember, even interstellar trophy hunters care about renewable tech. Thermal vision reveals human quarry like neon sashimi, while electromagnetic viewports highlight alien silhouettes in lurid blues. Stealth cloak burns energy, and your projectile arsenal ranges from a wrist blade friendly pounce to the iconic spear gun. Unlike its 1999 predecessor, the 2001 spear gun doesn't pin corpses to walls. Sorry, ragdoll sadists. But you can reclaim ammo from fallen prey, which is its own crunchy dopamine loop. Alien, Monolith saved the most mind-warping perspective for last. Your prologue starts as a facehugger hissing through glass vents, ending in an intimate jump cut from first kiss, to chest-burst puberty, burst out into the world as a meter-long grub, scurry away from panicked guards, then molt into a full warrior. No guns, no mini-map, just claws, tail, and the spidery gift of wall crawl. Orientation, optional. Up becomes down, ceilings become freeways, and ceilings with fluorescent tubes become accidental disco floors when you swipe the bulbs mid-pounce. If the Marine level design emphasizes choke points and defensible corridors, the alien arenas are labyrinthine, ventilation mazes that let you flank in 3 dimensions. The triple genre trick works because Monolith sells limitations as character. Marines see by flashlight and sonar. Predators watch in color-coded spectrums, but risk burnout if their energy drains. Aliens perceive soft auras around living things, but can't read English signage. Cue my first death by explosive barrel, because the big red letters said danger and, well, Xenos aren't exactly literate. Combat flows slaloms between terror and empowerment. As a Marine, you feel under-equipped even when you have 6 guns, because ammo piles are stingier than a Games Workshop discount. As a Predator, you begin borderline OP, but humans travel in squads, and aliens attack in shimmering waves, quickly burning your field charges. Playing as an alien, well, that's skateboarding on a ceiling fan. You're fragile at range, but lethal in claustrophobic corridors. The best levels funnel these strengths into set pieces, like the Marine's trek through a power outage med lab, motion tracker screaming, the Predator's infiltration of a Merkman dropship pad under floodlights, or the alien's escape through a greenhouse jungle where flares paint the underbrush an infernal orange. Then there's the matter of AI, an endearingly unpredictable gremlin. Marines under your incidental command sometimes freeze in bulkhead doors like they just spotted a motivational poster. Predator bots occasionally forget to cloak, announcing their presence louder than a synth beat. Scientists, bless them, sprint in circles until a tail gently finalizes their tenure. Modern players might call these bugs. 2001 players called them emergent horror. When a mercenary fails a pathfinding loop and barrels into his own trip mine, it's practically slapstick. Weapons grade nostalgia time. Marine armaments deliver that Cameron-flavored bass. Pulse rifle ricochets, shotgun pumps that rattle subwoofers, flamethrower whooshes so crisp you can smell imaginary napalm. Predator gear, by contrast, is techno-mythic. The plasma caster's 3-dot laser dances across walls before erupting in a white-hot golf ball of doom. The disc arcs like a homing frisbee from Hades. Aliens rely on anatomical hardware, claws, inner jaw headbite, which yes, siphons health and can overheal up to 200 HP, and a tail strike that pops torsos like gore piñatas. None of the species shares ammo, HUD layout, or traversal physics. Even today, few shooters commit to that level of perspective schism. Multiplayer deserves its own therapy session. Official modes include Deathmatch, Hunt, Survivor, and Evacuation, each weighted by species-based frag scores. Marines earn 1 point per kill. Predators cost more because invisibility is basically cheat mode with lore. Balance oscillates wildly. Drop 3 aliens into a dark corridor and you'll witness a colonial bloodbath. Conversely, a disciplined Marine fire team with pulse rifles set to full auto will hose down crawlers before they breach 10 meters. Predators? They're the wild card. Visit any fan forum and you'll see decade-long debates about cloak radius, disc auto aim, and whether pred jumping is an exploit or a pilgrimage. In 2001 though, none of us cared. We were too busy role-playing who would shout "Get to the chopper" first. Legacy and influence. So why isn't Aliens vs Predator 2 sitting at the top of greatest FPS pyramids alongside Half-Life and Halo? 2 words: timing and rights. The same month AVP2 dropped, Halo Combat evolved rewired console expectations, and Return to Castle Wolfenstein swaggered onto LAN parties with Axis V's allies tug of war. AVP2 attracted rave reviews but quickly found itself overshadowed by Master Chief's green glow and ID Tech's raw horsepower. Then came the corporate shuffle. Fox Interactive slipped under Vivendi Universal's wing, Sierra's brand deflated mid-Azur's. Licensing got messier than an Alien Queen mud fight. AVP2 never resurfaced on digital storefronts. No Steam, no GOG, no Xbox backward compat list. Today, snagging a legit copy requires eBay escapades or rummaging through your parents' attic next to the box of zip drive backups. And yet AVP2's fingerprints are everywhere. The cat and mouse dread of Creative Assembly's Alien. Isolation owes a debt to Monolith's motion tracker paranoia. Behavior's Dead by Daylight leverages asymmetrical horror loops AVP2 normalized long before 1 vs 4 became Twitch catnip. Even Monolith's own nemesis system in Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, where overlapping personal stories give common grunts long-term grudges, feels like an evolution of AVP2's intersecting campaign gimmick. Perhaps the game's strangest legacy, though, is its immortality in fan spaces. Private servers, homemade patchers, high-res texture packs. The community keeps MacGyvering around abandoned code like colonial engineers who refuse to evac. Speedrunners still dissect the alien's facehugger movement tech, crouch spam into a physics plank, and launch across the atrium in 0.3 seconds. And share VHS quality clips on forums that look as dusty as LV1201's archives. AVP2 is a xenomorph of software. It won't die, it just molts, sneaks through the vents, and emerges on your hard drive 30 years later. Closing paragraph plus score. Revisiting Aliens vs Predator 2 in 2025 is like cracking open a cryotube labeled "Handle with Paranoia." The textures are fuzzier than a VHS on tracking error mode. Some physics glitches could earn frequent flyer miles, and balancing is more suggestion than science. Yet few shooters, and I mean few, capture terror, power, and slapstick in the same 10-second window. Where else can puberty literally be a chest-burst mini-game, tactical horror hinge on a quarter-screen green CRT, and sci-fi tourism let you wield surgical lasers one moment and bite scalps the next? For its triple perspective audacity and tornado of atmosphere, I'm planting a motion tracker ping firmly on 2001's shoulder and saluting Monolith for its reckless ambition. Final verdict, 8.0 out of 10. Now someone please remaster it. My tracker's still beeping, and I swear that ceiling tile just twitched.